It was supposed to be a routine flight home, a brief stopover on a snowy February afternoon. They were young, fearless, and unstoppable, a team that carried the dreams of Manchester and the pride of a nation. But in just a few tragic seconds, everything changed. The laughter of young men filled with dreams turned into silence. The spirit of a team that had conquered England lay broken on a frozen airstrip in Munich. This is the story of the tragedy that changed Manchester United forever. The Munich Air Disaster of 1958. To truly understand the pain of that day, you must first understand the magic that came before it. Manchester United in the 1950s wasn't just a football club. It was a symbol of rebirth, of youth, hope, and ambition. Under the guidance of Sir Matt Busby, the club had become a beacon of post-war Britain. While others relied on experienced veterans, Busby had a vision, a revolutionary one. He believed in youth. He believed that if you trusted young men, gave them a chance to dream, they would repay you with glory. He called them his babes, the Busby Babes, and they were unlike anything English football had ever seen. They were fast, fearless, and full of spirit. Names like Duncan Edwards, Tommy Taylor, Roger Byrne, and Eddie Coleman lit up stadiums. Most of them were barely in their 20s, yet they dominated the English league with maturity beyond their years. In 1956 and 1957, Manchester United won back-to-back league titles, but Busby wanted more. He wanted to conquer Europe. The European Cup was still a new competition then, and many English clubs looked down on it, but not Busby. He saw it as the future, a chance for Manchester United to stand among Europe's giants. And so, in early 1958, the Busby Babes set out on another European adventure, the quarterfinal against Red Star Belgrade. On February 5, 1958, United drew 3-3 in Belgrade, a result that sent them through to the semifinals. They were heroes once again. The next day, they boarded a chartered British European Airways flight back home, making a scheduled refueling stop in Munich, West Germany. It was cold. The snow was thick, but for the young men inside the aircraft, spirits were high. They joked, they sang, they teased one another. The European dream was still alive. At 2:30 p.m., the plane landed safely in Munich for refueling. But when it came time to take off again, the problems began. The pilots attempted to take off once, then again. Both attempts were aborted due to boost surging, a problem with the engines. Passengers were asked to disembark for a short time, waiting nervously in the terminal. Some players grew uneasy. Centre half Duncan Edwards sent a telegram to his landlady in Manchester. All flights cancelled, flying tomorrow. But fate had other plans. After just 15 minutes, word came that a third attempt would be made. Snow was still falling, visibility was poor, and slush covered the runway. Captain James Thane, the pilot, checked his instruments carefully. Everything seemed in order. The passengers took their seats once again. The engines roared. The aircraft sped down the runway. For a moment, it seemed like they would lift off, but the speed didn't build fast enough. The tires hit a patch of slush, and the plane lost momentum. It skidded, smashed through a fence, and tore into a nearby house and fuel truck. Then, an explosion. It was 3:04 p.m.
the Munich Air Disaster had struck. 23 people lost their lives. Among them were 8 Manchester United players, some of the brightest talents English football had ever seen. Roger Byrne, the captain; Tommy Taylor, a natural goalscorer; Eddie Coleman, only 21 years old; Mark Jones, David Pegg, Jeff Bent, Liam Whelan, and Duncan Edwards, a man so gifted that many believed he would have become one of the greatest players in history. Busby himself was critically injured, clinging to life in a hospital bed. The assistant manager, Jimmy Murphy, wasn't on the flight. He was managing the Wales national team that week. It would be him who had to hold the club together while Busby fought for his life. When the news reached Manchester, the city fell into mourning. Flags flew at half-mast. Crowds gathered outside Old Trafford in tears. For a team that had once symbolized youthful joy and courage, the silence was unbearable. In hospital, Matt Busby drifted between life and death. When he awoke, he asked, "What about my boys?" No one had the heart to tell him the truth. When he finally learned, he broke down completely. He even told his wife, "I don't want to go on." But he did. And in that decision lay the beginning of Manchester United's rebirth. Jimmy Murphy stepped in to rebuild the team from ashes. With barely enough players to field the side, United somehow completed their fixtures. They made it to the FA Cup final that season, losing to Bolton Wanderers. But the result hardly mattered. Just showing up was a miracle. 2 years later, Matt Busby returned to the touchline. His face was older, his heart heavier, but his vision remained unbroken. He rebuilt Manchester United once again, with survivors like Bobby Charlton and Bill Foulkes leading a new generation. In 1968, 10 years after the crash, Manchester United lifted the European Cup for the very first time. Under the lights of Wembley, Bobby Charlton, George Best, and Brian Kidd delivered the dream that the Busby Babes had died chasing. As Charlton lifted the trophy, tears filled the eyes of those who remembered Munich. The ghosts of '58 had finally found peace. Today, the Munich Air Disaster is not just a chapter in Manchester United's history, it is Manchester United's soul. It taught the world that from unimaginable loss can come resilience, unity, and hope. Every year on February 6th, fans gather at Old Trafford beneath the Munich clock, standing in silence, remembering the team that never came home. Because Munich wasn't just about death, it was about rebirth. It was about courage. It was about the eternal bond between a club and its fallen sons. The flowers of Manchester may have fallen that day, but their spirit still blooms in every cheer, every chant, every heart that beats for United.